Scott's here in case you need him.
You can't hide.
Well, this is like
We know it. The VOPs.
somebody that can grab the water.
You need some water?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right, here we go. Going live now.
I'll get it to you underneath. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it!
All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to the Peeps headquarters in Southern California for our exclusive Living on Air book launch party with Joe Cipriano. I am so excited. I'm beyond excited. Well, you know I'm excited. So let's just get right to it. You hear his voice probably every single day. He began his career in broadcasting in Waterbury, Connecticut, while he was still in high school. I think at the age of 14 he started. And since then, he's worked for NBC, ABC, Fox, and CBS television and radio networks, and one of the top professionals in the voiceover industry today. Please join me in a warm welcome for Mr. Joe Cipriano.
Holy macaroni. Welcome. Boy, I really worked at all those places, huh?
Yeah, you did.
I just can't keep a job. I think that's
So we have a really exciting show tonight. We're going to be doing a lot of things here. Not only are we going to be talking about your new book, Living on Air, but we've got some very special, extra special guests that we will be talking with that played a large part in your career.
Yeah, it's kind of like This Is Your Life, Joe Cipriano.
We're also going to be doing a scholarship raffle at the end for the 90-minute career consultation. Joe was very generous to donate a 90-minute career consultation, and we have been selling raffle tickets for the past few weeks, and so I'm really excited. We'll be doing that at the end of the show.
And that is for the scholarship fund, right?
Yes, that is for the Career Education Scholarship Fund for the Peeps, and again, it's close to my heart. Thank you everybody so much for all of your support. To date, we have already awarded over $12,000 in scholarships
awesome.
to... I won't stop asking for money. But thank you so much for your generosity. You guys, you just make it all worthwhile, and so I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I think that we also have a contest.
Oh yes, we're announcing tonight the startup of an online social media contest that we're going to be doing for the book. You know, so many people who have purchased the book were suddenly just, putting up photos online on Facebook and Twitter of them holding the book and things like that. We had already thought that we were going to do a contest involving pictures and the book, so we were really surprised that people were doing that already. But the contest is Living on Air, Read It Everywhere. And so what we want people to do is when they get the book, no purchase necessary. You can borrow the book, you can print out the cover. Just print it out and just hold it up. But the idea is to take a picture reading the book or in some way involving the cover of the book in the most unique, unusual situation. So if you're in New York City, you're reading the book and the Statue of Liberty, Lady Liberty is looking over your shoulder reading it with you. If you're in Iowa, you're in a cornfield or wherever. So the folks who come up with the most unique, visually creative ideas for this contest, we have some great prizes. Apogee Digital has given us 3 of those mics that I love. Those USB mics that are beautiful. So we have those to give away. BSW USA, Broadcast Supply Worldwide, has given us a channel strip. It's a voice processor by DBX, which is a real nice unit. It's like $250. And some Sennheiser Pro headphones that we're also giving away. So what you do to enter the contest, for all of you that are watching and for all of you here, and we'll be talking about this on social media, is to take those pictures, put them up, and you can put them up on Instagram, on Twitter, or Facebook, and you have to hashtag it with 3 hashtags.
Okay.
Living on Air, BSW USA, and Apogee Digital. And we'll have all of this all written out so that we can do it. So, and then we'll check them all out. We'll be able, because of the hashtags, we'll be able to find them. Everyone will be entered into the contest, and then by November 30th, we're going to hand out all the prizes.
Oh, great.
That's the contest.
Yeah!
takes only that much time. I'll get it down.
You've already started shipping, right?
Yes, we have. Oh yeah, the books.
The
Yes.
official date of the launch was yesterday.
Was yesterday, yeah, but we did do pre-orders, and a lot of people in this room pre-ordered, and we were blown away by how many people pre-ordered the book. And so as soon as they came in and signed each and every one of them,
that's great.
and tried to
Was there more than
personalize them.
100? Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
More than just.
Yes, oh, good.
Yeah, yeah.
That's great,
Yeah.
that's great.
But I love that, and we're still going to leave that open. You can purchase the book on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and get all the ebooks at iTunes and all of that. But we're going to keep the livingonairbook.com going for anyone who wants to have a personalized book.
Oh, that's
You can
great.
still buy it
that's
there.
great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah.
That's
And
really
then my wife Ann is going to send those out.
And we also have some books here.
We do have books
For those
here,
of you
yeah.
joining us here tonight, we do have books here. So I'm excited about their downstairs.
I'd be happy to
Excited
sign
about that.
the
So
books.
we'll be doing a book signing after the show. Also at the end, we're going to be doing a live Q&A. So my global peeps, you know I love you. We are on chat, so if you have some questions for Joe, please queue them up, and we will be getting to those hopefully at the end of the show.
Yeah, I want to hear from you out there for sure. Yeah.
So that's great. So
Yeah.
I think we need to take a quick break, and when we come back, Jerry's cooking something up in the kitchen. Much love and thanks to Jerry Ganguza as usual. Living on Air, the book, and then we'll have some surprise guests coming on board, and we'll talk about Joe's early career in broadcasting. So stay tuned, don't leave. We got some great things coming up. Woo!
Come on over, Annie.
Turn it on.
Hey, George. I forgot to ask you a question. Camera, when you're doing a shot of me, which one is it?
This is the star camera. This is the single.
Single on me. Okay, so we got on both.
This is the wide shot.
That's a wide shot. So when I'm looking into a camera, I should be looking into that camera. Okay. This one? This one. Yeah.
This is purely live stream. That's what Joe. I know Ann was here. Yeah. Thanks, Ashley.
Sorry. John Lloyd is. Happy Black Friday. No, I started earlier, so I told you 97.
I think it's a little.
Hey Jill, I was talking out loud, I think it's in the third second, something like that. You're gonna come in. Yes. Yes. I think both of them? Yeah, they're both there. We do, we've got Scott here, we've got and, well,
Your name is Scott.
you know Scott Rubble?
Oh, somebody did.
Tell who you are, Scott.
Okay, I'll take 10 seconds. 10 or 15. 10 seconds, everyone. 5 seconds.
How many?
Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Living on Air Book Launch Party
Yeah.
with Joe Cipriano.
Oh, that's me, yes.
And this week we have our first special guest sitting next to Joe on the couch, his lovely wife Ann, Thank you so much for being here.
For inviting me.
Well, so let's talk
Yes.
about
Let's
living
talk.
on air. Oh, let's
Yes.
talk. So living on air, the book. What prompted you to write a book? Okay,
Well, part of it was that, I've been asked so many times throughout my career, both in broadcasting and voiceover, how did you get into it? What's the story? How can I get into it? And I've told these stories over and over again, and Ann and I talked about that. It's like, gosh, it would be really great to kind of compile all of these stories. And we, there are a lot of books on voiceover and how to do it type books that are very, very good. Jim's book, for example. Randy Thomas has a great book. Joan Baker has a wonderful book that I was fortunate enough to be a part of. So, but we wanted to do something that was more of a narrative, more of a story that read more like a novel. So Ann and I decided to work on it together. We had been looking for something that we could do together.
Joe's always looking for something that we can do together, which is very sweet. It's very nice. And usually what he's come up with is, I'm not so interested in that. No, I'm not so interested in that. Yeah, you go ahead and do that, but I'll do something else. And then he came up with this idea, and I'm a writer,
You are,
so
I was gonna say you
I
are a
thought,
writer,
well,
correct?
sure, I like that idea. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
So that's how it came about. But we didn't want to do just a how-to, but we thought, I sort of hate calling it a memoir because everybody can write a memoir. Everybody here has a wonderful
Sure,
story,
everybody
and
has a
everybody can share. We could all learn something from your stories. So it's more, I was hoping that in writing this story, that there would be how-tos, little tidbits of how to make your own dream come true within that narrative.
Sprinkled throughout it. Yeah.
and motivation.
And it was fun to work together on it.
Yeah, we
you know.
survived.
We did.
How
we didn't know what that was.
long did you work on the book?
We started 3.5 years ago
Okay.
on it, and the first deadline that we had was Valentine's Day 2010. So we missed the mark.
And about Valentine's Day 2010, we stopped working on it.
Yeah, right. We said, okay, that's
And about last year, this time, we started again.
Yeah, it was a lot of stops and starts, but we were making progress along the way, and we would send what we had worked on to friends and get some input, which was really important. A lot of it, we while we were working on it over those 3 years, I mean, we have very close friends. Scott Rummo, who's here, and Stu Herrera, and Greg Sims, and so many really good friends, Jill Seltzer, who had no idea that we were writing a book all this time. We just kind of, I don't know, we just wanted to work on it, and we weren't sure what the outcome was going to be. But once and the way we would work is I would do kind of what I call a data dump. We would talk about, all right, what are we going to work on in this chapter, and then I would get the story out and get it all down on paper and email it to Ann, and then Ann would start working on it, making it pretty and making it make sense, and it would come back to me, and I would add more color to it, and it was that process over and over.
Did you spend a certain amount of time a day working on it, or was it that?
Well, we did the
Did you
hour a day.
regiment? Was it regimented?
Well, yeah, we really tried to work on it every day. But I say, kind of, I'm the play-by-play and he's the commentator. So Joe, it's his story. There were things in his story that I didn't know about in the early years. So
I read it.
Yes. Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say, oh,
Fun.
that's
Oh,
really
really?
fun stuff. Embellish that a little bit. And sometimes when he would send stuff back to me and then I would build a story around it, I'd send it back to him and I embellished incorrectly or I would get something wrong, so then he'd send it back. So it was a lot of back and forth until it made sense. And we would send it to somebody and say, you send it to a friend, and, is this interesting? Do you think it's all right? Is it, is it silly? But they were encouraging. I don't know if they were just being really nice because they are our friends, but they were encouraging, so we kept going.
And Ann has a cousin who is an editor for Simon & Schuster in New York, and we did send her very early drafts, and she gave us some real good input. And the book starts off, the first chapter of the book, which wasn't the first chapter when we first started writing the book, but we decided it was a strong chapter and we wanted to put it up front, is called Summer of '69, and it's the year that I was 14 years old, and I called my local disc jockey, at the local radio station, and he said, listen, I want to be a disc jockey someday, and I don't know how to go about it. And he invited me down to the radio station. So 1969, and what Lauren, Ann's cousin, gave us was, you have to recreate that whole era, and what that era meant to you, and what it meant to everyone. So that actually was a lot of fun. Going back, we would listen to music from '69. We'd go back and read news reports from '69 and just our own memories as well, and then embellish that and tell the stories. So I'm really happy with that chapter. That's a fun chapter.
Surprisingly, half the book is about radio.
Yeah.
I really started to think about writing a book to help people who want to break into voiceovers, to explain how Joe did it and how they could do it as well. And we look back at it, and Joe had such a love for radio. We actually met. We both were working in radio. I was all news, and he was a disco DJ. And
Yes.
That's right, I was hot, yeah. You saw my picture with the mustache. I mean, come on. Pretty damn hot right there. Look at him. Wow. What were you thinking, Ann? Good God.
I don't know, but it's really, Joe loves radio, and that comes through, I think, in the book, how much.
Oh, absolutely. When you mentioned that it's at least half of the book is radio, it's true.
Yeah, it is pretty much, yeah. And also,
And that era.
And that's,
yeah, exactly. And I kind of got into voiceovers because of radio.
because of radio.
And I use that background, and I don't know, many of the people here and also watching, we have a radio background, and a lot of times when you make that move into voiceovers, it's a real negative.
Right.
The first thing you hear is you sound like a disc jockey. You sound like you're on the radio. You got to lose that. You
Exactly.
have to be real. You have to be a real person. So that was a whole learning curve.
Yeah, I have to say that when I read your book in one day, it was amazing, everybody. But it was such a nice, easy read. But most definitely, it was encouraging because you had such a long radio career, and you're so successful in voiceovers, and how you transitioned. And so that was really encouraging.
Yeah, and I heard from a lot of people that they were surprised that
Yeah.
that there were a lot of ups and downs. I mean, there is, I talk about this career that we're in, voiceover. We talked about it being a roller coaster,
Yes.
and it is. And I hate roller coasters, but it is the career that I chose to
With that
be in.
kids, I always had to go on the
And
roller
had to go on the
coaster.
roller
I don't
coaster.
like
I
it
hate
either.
that. I hate that
He
whole
refused.
drop. And that's what voiceover is all about. There's that, there's a climb, and things seem to be going great, and just when you think things are going great, everything goes down.
And that to me was super powerful.
Yeah.
You writing about that in the book was just very, very hopeful.
Yeah,
You know,
and
that
the
you
thing is,
still go through ups and
yes,
downs.
you always
Even
will,
if-
and you
Even
don't.
Joseph,
You don't know what the other person is going through. But the important thing is when that happens is to get through it and keep
Right.
going, stay positive, stay committed, and if you keep at it and you work at it. I have this rule about any goal, and we used it for the book, and that is if there's something you want to do, if you have a goal, if you work on it 1 hour a day, it doesn't sound like a lot. To some people it sounds like way too much. But if you can put an hour a day into something that you want to do, something that's your dream, you have a goal, whatever it may be, you'd be surprised at how quickly you'll move along towards that goal, achieving it.
So, and you still do that. to this
Oh,
day,
yeah.
yeah.
I still do that.
Still have your
And throughout my voiceover career, I was fortunate enough to get into promos. I started off doing trailers. That was my first work, and then I got into promos. And there's the ups and downs in promos, and I realized, okay, there was a time in my life where I lost more than half of my income. It was just gone. And I realized, okay, I got to diversify. I've got to find other things to do. So I had goals along the way. Okay, I want to do game show announcing. How do I do that? I have no idea. I work on it an hour a day. Game show announcing, live announcing, radio imaging. Got into doing drama promos. You just got to you can't get comfortable and say this is.
He's obviously ambitious.
Yeah.
He's driven.
Exactly.
He's, yeah, he's,
Yeah, I don't think there's a lack of
Yeah.
motivation there.
yeah, and Joe is one of the most positive people I know. So he's always going to keep going after what he hopes to achieve.
Well, I'd like to actually kind of step it back a little bit and talk about when you first got into radio and broadcasting. You were young. You were 14.
Yeah,
I
14.
remember reading, and
Yeah.
you called up the local DJ.
I did.
And so the persona back then was it was very cool to be like, step us back in time, and
Sure.
what was the draw to radio for you?
Yeah, well, the first time that I went to a radio station, I was actually 9 years old, and it was, I grew up in Connecticut, and my 4th grade class went to WTIC, which was AM, FM, and television in Connecticut. And I thought, we toured as 4th graders. They brought us through the TV studio and the cameras, and I thought, wow, this is really cool. And then they led us out of the studio and down a hall, and there was this big window, and suddenly you hear it coming out of the speaker in the ceiling, these people talking. It's these 2 men that are on the air, they're on the radio. And it was like, really? This is awesome. There's just 2 guys there behind a microphone cracking jokes and playing music, and they were waving to us kids, and I was just mesmerized by that. And everybody in the class was, and especially the girls, which I thought, okay, I'm making that.
I think that's the real reason.
And what I learned,
Okay.
what I learned later too, is that Joe is not really, at that time, he was not the best student in school.
Oh yeah, that's
So
true. I
it
wasn't.
wasn't
Yeah.
like he thought, all right, I'm gonna be, yeah, there's hope. For C students, there's
Scott and I
hope.
share that.
Yeah. So here was something that he could.
That's right. C
do.
students unite. Yeah.
I'm being kind, but.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I, after that first, introduction to radio, that's when I came home and I started at night, putting a transistor radio under my pillow. And at night, back then it was all AM radio. So a lot of AM radio stations go off the air, the smaller stations go off the air, and they at sundown, and they make room for all the big clear channel stations that are bombing in from Chicago and Detroit, CKLW in Detroit, and WCFL in Chicago, WLS in Buffalo. And listening to these radio personalities late at night, it was a crash course in rock and roll radio. And I learned how to do radio from listening to those guys. And one of them, John Records Landecker, Records truly is my middle name, he says. He wrote a great blurb for the book, and he was kind of blown away that as a kid I used to listen to him on the radio, and he's a legendary disc jockey, and he still is on the air today. In fact, he wrote a really cool book as well that Ann and I both read. But yeah, so then after that I realized, okay, how am I going to do this? I'm 14 years old. I have a cool radio station right here in town, Top 40 station. The guy on the air, I love this disc jockey. His name was Jerry Wolf, and he had this rap that was, he would talk real fast, and he'd say, Jerry Wolf rapping on you and pumping out too, and you're pumping in. And I was like, wow, that's so I decided I'm going to call this guy. And so I, got the phone and called the request line, over, busy. Finally, like 2 days later, I got through. And when I got through, I was stunned. I'm really talking to Jerry Wolf, and I just kind of spilled it all out. My real name is Dave. I'm David Joseph Cipriano. And we talk about that in the book and all the different names that I've gone through in my radio career. I just said,
we have a drink named after.
yes, we do. That's right. We'll find out more about that later. Yeah. So I just blurted it all out. I'm Dave Cipriano. I want to get into radio, and I'm wondering if maybe someday I can come down to the station and see what the station is like, because I want to be a disc jockey. So I was like talking as fast as he was talking. He goes, "Yeah, man, that's really cool." So he invited me down, and we tell the story in the book. I had to take the bus downtown Waterbury from my little town of Oakville, and which is a teeny little town in Connecticut, and I got to meet him, and it was a thrill, and we really paint a picture of what that was like. And then the most unbelievable thing after meeting him, he said, "Listen, man, I'm the music director here at the station, and I need some help. I got records to file and stuff like that." He goes, "Why don't you come down on Saturdays and help me out?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll do that." Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's what I did, for years. I mean,
I was going to say, so I think for a couple of years you worked doing anything, right?
I
Maybe
did
with
anything.
Uh-huh.
We used to have to hide from the bosses. They didn't want a 14-year-old kid hanging at the radio station. There were many times that bosses would come. We had an elevator at the station that you operated yourself. It was a lever. During the day, there was an elevator operator.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day. But at night, you would do it yourself, and you would guide it up, to the. And so, the elevator would be up with us, and whoever would come in 6 floors down would just ring a buzzer, and you would have to go down and get them. And a lot of times, we'd yell down the stairs, go, "Who is it? Wallen King!" Oh, crap, that's the general manager of the station, and I'm not supposed to be there. So they go, "All right, you got to go hide." And we had all these different places to hide. There was a broom closet that I hid in so many times. But the weird thing is, it had a door on it, but it was a half door, so it only came down like this high.
The weird
So
thing is
you
it had
could
a half door, but it was the top half.
Yeah, so you could see. So I would put my feet in buckets, and then I'd take the mops and hide them all around me so you couldn't see my legs. I'd hide there. And other times I hid out on the fire escape, whether it was raining, cold, snowing, whatever. I hunker down out
But
there.
the best was,
The turntables?
yes.
In the
because what
FM
happened
studio.
later.
The FM studio had 2 turntables in either side. Anybody who knows radio, you got 2 turntables. They were on a box, 2 boxes with a door so you can service them. And the FM guy, Ron, would say, "Okay, Davey, get in the box." And I'd get in the box. I mean, I was about that tall anyhow. I'm not much taller now. And I'd get under there, and he'd give me a play-by-play. Go, "Yeah, he's over in the AM. He'll be leaving soon, don't worry." I'm down there, and the turntable is like spinning, above my head. And I'd be in there for anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes at a time.
But then, a couple of years later, I found out as he was telling me these stories, that was the very first time he went on the air, was in that FM studio. So he walked in and he just was describing how he looked at those turntables. He was used to hiding under the turntables, not playing records on
Not putting
top.
records on top of them. So
And
he
that
already
was his
did it.
first break, was
Yeah.
to.
Your first break was your first
In radio, well,
In radio,
I had
your
been
first
hanging
time
around
there
there. Yeah, I was hanging.
FM, right?
It was FM, yeah,
Country.
which was a disappointment because who the hell listens to FM?
Yeah, and that's
FM?
Yeah.
Oh my God. So yeah, I mean, I had been hanging around the station for 2 years, and there are a lot of stories. Listen, there are a lot of groupies that come to radio stations, and when I say groupie, I mean beautiful young women. And yeah, and so there are a lot of stories in the book about that, but I can't remember what I was getting to. But, I turned that out.
First night on air.
I'm not quite sure why I said that. Well, I guess, yeah, wow, I got hot in here all of a sudden. I guess what I was getting at is that I learned a lot when I was hanging around that radio station for 2 years from 14
Before
to
I
16.
knew him.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I just happened to be home one day, and the program director of the FM called and said, "Hey, Davey Sip, listen, the nighttime guy, Sunday night, can't make it in. You think you're ready to go on the air?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm ready to go on the air." And so he said, "Well, get down here. You've got to be on the air at 9 o'clock. You're going to go 9 to midnight." And so I hopped in the car. I was 16 years old. I just had my new Rambler Classic. Well, not new. With 3 on the tree.
Yes.
And, and so yeah, and I figured going there, I wasn't nervous because, well, it was the FM. And I couldn't imagine that anybody
Maybe it was
listened
the
to FM anyhow, and it was country music. So I figured the only people that would be listening would be my parents anyhow. But I found out later on, as you move into the 70s and you realize, that FM station was a 20,000 watt FM station. You could hear it all the way from Massachusetts, all over Connecticut, down to Long Island. The AM, which was like the real cool place to work that played top 40 music, was 1,000 watts, 250 watts at night. The light bulbs in here don't have, have more power. And, it barely got out of Waterbury. So, that was a big switch in broadcasting when we realized that, that was, FM is where it's at. But that was my first time.
Wow. So, and I think you dedicated a song to your parents.
I did, you're right, Ann, I
Hank
did.
Williams song?
Yeah, because it was, wow, that's very
Yes,
good. Were you there? Were you under the turntable?
Yeah. So,
That's right.
in talking about your parents, were they supportive in your
They
early radio
were,
days?
yeah, I think because they knew that I was not a very good student.
Ah.
And I think it was a mix of probably you know, maybe this is something he can do with his life, you know, and he might have a job.
Well, they trusted you.
Oh, but they definitely
Yeah.
trusted me as well.
And your
Yeah.
dad picked you up before
Oh.
you could drive. He was down there every night. His
Wow.
dad worked at 7 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon.
Mhm.
And he was there at 11 o'clock at night whenever Joe was at the
Yeah.
service.
Yeah, I was
And-
a lucky guy.
I-
His mom used to bring him a hoagie,
That's
A
right.
grinder.
a grinder,
Grinder.
Special.
wrapped in foil. You can feel it, it's still hot.
It's still hot. Yeah, my mom, she would make the meatballs that Jerry made tonight and slather on that wonderful sauce onto fresh Italian bread. This is before I was going down to the station. And she would give me, a little bag like this to
Did
take
she
with
write your
me.
name on it? Wait, is there?
Yeah, well, it says Joe, so
Okay.
I think